Emotional impulses are completely within the control of Sigma empaths. Sometimes, though, they choose to be furious for justifiable reasons. 8 actual experiences of a Sigma empath fury are listed below. 8. Continuous flood of emotions. Though a gift of comprehension and compassion, this increased sensitivity turns into a double-edged sword as the empath is constantly barraged with waves of happiness, grief, rage, and worry. The Sigma empaths are caught in a precarious dance between connection and disorder as this emotional onslaught continues. Figuring out how to read their emotional compass and resisting the overpowering barrage of outside forces that could sink them is the difficult part. Imagine a lonely sailor burdened with feelings that are not their own, searching frantically for solid ground on a raging sea. In their search for equilibrium, Sigma empaths can come with a disturbing reality: the difficulty in drawing limits against their unrelenting flow. An empath fills up like a vessel with emotions as they take in the pleasures and sorrows of those around them. When they come to terms with the fact that their emotional reserves are finite, it might set off an internal storm that results from their helplessness to stop the flood of outside emotions that are crashing into their inner seas. 7. Establishing strict boundaries. Boundaries in the world of Sigma empaths are not just lines in the sand. They are strongholds built to withstand the constant assault of outside emotions. After taking in all of the pleasures and sufferings of others around them, the empath comes to a critical crossroads where self-preservation takes precedence over the urge to empathize without limits. This pivotal moment causes a transformational fury, a visceral reaction to the understanding that their reservoir of compassion cannot result in their emotional exhaustion. These intense boundaries are being forged, not with a detached coldness, but with the fierce determination of a blacksmith making armor of defense. The Sigma empath must direct the whirling storm of emotions into building a haven as they search for balance. Their emotional landscape can grow here, in the middle of other people's turbulent gardens. This fury is an affirmation of the empath's right to protect their emotional center rather than a rejection of connection. It's a statement that the deep gift of empathy does not invite emotional intrusion. Imagine a sculpture that is carving away the existing stone to unveil the work of art inside. By drawing these lines, the Sigma empath creates a complex work of self-art that asserts identity among the tumult of mutual emotions. Do strict boundaries help you get over resentment as a Sigma empath? 6. Projecting hostility upon unwelcome individuals. The Sigma empath is an emotional conduit who can take in the whole range of human emotions, but she has inner turmoil when she is around people that she feels are undesired. The ability to empathize, which is often a force for comprehension and connection, suddenly changes and becomes a means of letting go of pent-up negativity. Instead of being an accidental overflow, it is a planned extension, a deliberate decision to reroute the emotional residue, similar to how an alchemist can change basic metals into less oppressive substances. The deliberate projection of negativity that characterizes the fury of a Sigma empath is a result of a complicated interplay between emotional discernment and self-preservation. The empath dances a complex dance, balancing between taking in other people's emotional vibrations and warding off negative energies that could jeopardize their own peace of mind. Imagine a force field of protection being created as a necessary barrier against emotional intrusion, not because it is malicious. The act of extending negativity serves as a shield, a way for the empath to regain emotional autonomy in a world where being receptive may be both a gift and a risk. 5. Weakening the forces of their adversaries. The choice to drain their adversaries' energies is not made on the spur of the moment by Sigma empaths. Rather, it is a deliberate reaction to perceived threats. The capacity for empathy, which is frequently a source of understanding and connection, can also be a powerful weapon for maintaining one's own survival and establishing supremacy. This is a chess game played on the complex board of human interactions, not a conflict of emotions. Consider the empath as an expert energy alchemist who masterfully transforms the surrounding emotional currents. This is where the fury becomes a purposeful drawing of energy from enemies, like drawing water from a magical well to keep oneself alive. The Sigma empath dances with shadows and light, managing the fine line between taking in the negativity and channeling it towards strengthening their emotional stronghold. The Sigma Empath takes on the role of an energy guardian in this unusual display of fury, standing guard against invading emotional chaos. It is not malice that begets depleting adversaries' resources. Rather, it is the primal urge for self-preservation, the realization that inner stability requires constant vigilance amidst the turbulent sea of emotions. Do you become so agitated as a Sigma Empath that you end up projecting it onto other people? 4. Treatment with abrupt silence. This abrupt withdrawal, akin to a magician's disappearing act, is an expression of fury, a subdued but powerful representation of the inner turmoil that the empath experiences. Imagine if a symphony stopped suddenly, leaving a disconcerting silence that spoke a much. By embracing this type of fury, the Sigma Empath treads carefully in a world full of emotional upheaval while still retaining her inner calm. The silent treatment turns into a haven, a cocoon where the empath goes to find comfort and time for reflection amidst social interactions. With this, the Sigma Empath builds a story about defending oneself, a calculated break in the never-ending exchange of feelings. The silence leaves a gap that allows the empath to reassess and find emotional balance, since the unsaid words carry a weight of unspoken emotions. 3. A keen sense of injustice. Imagine an inferno brought on by the zeal for justice blazing in the empath's heart, driving them to face and resist perceived wrongs. This increased sensitivity is a constant search for justice and balance in an unfair world, not just a reaction to it. The intense awareness of injustice is deeply entwined with the wrath felt by the Sigma Empath. They seem to wear a mantle of empathy that serves as a lightning rod for the electric charge of resentment, in addition to absorbing the feelings of others. The empath transforms into an emotional crusader when faced with injustice, navigating the turbulent sea of social issues with a steadfast resolve to bringing about change. Picture a storm building in the distance, driven not by erratic winds, but by the justified rage of a Sigma Empath who sees injustice. This fury is not a passive response, rather, it is an active one, a call to action that forces the empath to take the lead in the fight against injustice, prejudice, and cruelty. Do you become angry as a Sigma Empath when you see or experience injustice? 2. Having trouble articulating their demands. Fueled by the difficulty of navigating a world where their own needs frequently take a backseat to those of others, the Sigma Empath's wrath appears as a silent storm within. It's a battle to convey the subtleties of the empath's emotional environment rather than a tempest of hatred. Instead, it's a turbulent sea of unspoken longings and desires. Imagine the empath as a muffled instrument in a symphony, able to harmonize with other people's songs but longing to be heard on their own. The simmering anger beneath the surface is a moving representation of the empath's need for validation and comprehension. The contradiction that faces the Sigma Empath is that they are able to sense other people's needs yet find it hard to express their own. The battle is not a rebellion against empathy, but rather an insightful recognition that one's own voice can get lost in the din of other people's emotions. 1. Abrupt seclusion and retreat. Fury manifests itself for the Sigma Empath as an abrupt seclusion, a calculated withdrawal into the safety of one's own space in reaction to the overpowering tides of feeling and recognition that their compassion reserves, while immense, are finite. This retreat is a deliberate attempt to safeguard the empath's emotional sanctum rather than an act of disengagement. Consider a celestial entity that is obscured by its own shadow as a metaphor for the Sigma Empath that is cloaked in self-imposed seclusion. The underlying wrath is not a violent storm, but a subdued protest against emotional overload, a need to maintain composure in the face of overwhelming empathy. The delicate dance between self-preservation and connection is skillfully navigated by the Sigma Empath. A brief retreat to heal the wounds of empathy and regain internal equilibrium is what is meant by the withdrawal, which is a type of emotional triage. The empath becomes the designer of their own seclusion, erecting barriers to create a sacred area for reflection and rejuvenation rather than to keep people out. Does sudden withdrawal cause fury in a Sigma Empath? Which would you prefer, withdrawal or attack? Negativity rarely affects Sigma Empaths, but when it does, it usually indicates that they've had enough and have nothing more to think about. What motivates you as a Sigma Empath to vent your fury?